What if the most dangerous offensive weapon on the roster isn't being unleashed, on purpose? Yeah, I said it. Because when the hottest player keeps coming off the bench, and the coach's own post-game comments start sounding like a soft confession, you know something deeper is going on. Welcome back to WNBA Vibe, where we break down the game behind the game. Because once you really listen to how this situation is being explained, it stops looking like a rotation choice, and starts feeling like a power move. See, this isn't new. In high-stakes environments, whether it's corporate boardrooms or elite locker rooms, when a generational talent walks in and instantly raises the ceiling, the old guard doesn't just step aside. Nah, they manage it. You slow the rollout, limit the spotlight, keep that superstar earning it behind established names. And fans are starting to notice that same energy here. The tone shifts, the language softens. Less respect, more kid gloves, subtle reminders about who still runs the show. And sure, this is basketball, not business, but the vibes? Way too similar. Because right now, Team USA doesn't just look like it's trying to win games, it looks like it's managing a pecking order. And when you're playing on the international stage, under that kind of spotlight, everything gets exposed. Every substitution, every hesitation, it all hits different. That's why things are getting tense. For 3 straight games, fans have been calling out the offense. Slow, sticky, half-court sets that just kill the energy. And right at the center of it all? One unavoidable question. If the world is begging for pace, spacing, and instant offense, why is Caitlin Clark not starting? Because this pushback. It's not just noise anymore. It's media pressure. It's sponsors watching the numbers. It's the kind of heat that forces answers. And then came the moment that really lit the match, when coaching duties briefly shifted to Nate Tibbetts. Suddenly, the messaging changed. The offense looked smoother, more fluid. And then came that lineup, the one that flipped the game. Clark, Paige Bueckers, and Angel Reese. Faster, younger, straight up explosive. But here's where it gets messy. When asked about that unit, instead of locking it in, instead of saying this is the future, he praised them, then hit it with a but. And in sports, that but hits like a warning sign. Because when he said maybe he played them too long, fans didn't hear strategy, they heard hesitation. Like yeah, this lineup just changed the game. But don't get too comfortable. And that right there. That's where things start to feel real interesting. Check this out.
Back the flow of the game.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. You know, this is a group that hasn't been along or been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first 2 games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at some of them got.
That was wild, right? You just saw exactly how that young unit flipped the tempo, and now here's where it gets real spicy. Because that one little deflection from the coach. Oh, it does a lot of political work behind the scenes. When the backup unit clearly outperforms the so-called legacy lineup, leadership has to create a reason to go back. Not because it's better, but because it feels safer. And just like that, the narrative shifts, great in bursts, super exciting, but maybe not reliable enough to start. Maybe they'll burn out. Maybe they're not disciplined yet. And if you're watching this as a fan, you're thinking, hold up, are we trying to win games or protect egos? But even that wasn't what really set the internet on fire. Coaching politics. That's expected. But player-to-player energy. That hits different. Because right after that, veteran leader Chelsea Gray gets asked about the rapid rise of the young stars. Yeah, we're talking Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers. This was the perfect moment to show love, to pass the torch with class, to say the future is here. Easy win, right? Nah, instead, the wording that came out. Man, it instantly turned into a flashpoint. Because to a lot of people watching, it didn't feel like mentorship, it felt like a subtle jab. The kind of tone that makes you pause and go, wait, was that respect, or was that low-key pressure? And trust me, what she said next only made things louder. Check this out.
Yeah, I was yelling at them the other day. I was calling them peanut butter and jelly because they were in the wrong place. But it's really cool, man. A respect for the game, and they just constantly they're constantly getting better, whether it's defensively, offensively, IQ wise. You always you know when they're missing, and that's the compliment to any player. You want them on the floor. They impact the game in different.
Yeah, that hit a nerve, didn't it? And look, to be fair, some people are gonna say Chelsea Gray was just joking, locker room vibes, light teasing, nothing serious. And sure, tone matters, context matters. But here's what a lot of folks aren't catching. At this level, optics are everything. These microphones. They're global. The audience. International. So when you use playful, almost childlike labels for two of the most hyped young stars like Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers, people don't always hear chemistry. Nah, they hear hierarchy. They hear a veteran planting a flag. Like, I'm still running this. I'm still the authority. And whether you agree with that take or not, it connects to a bigger fear that's been bubbling up. What if the old guard doesn't want the future to arrive too fast, too loud, too undeniable? Because let's be real, when Clark touches the ball, everything changes. The spacing opens up, the tempo jumps, defenses start scrambling, and passing lanes appear out of nowhere. It's electric. And if the team suddenly looks sharper with her running the show, that raises a tough question for anyone whose role depends on the slower system staying intact. And that's why the whole suppression narrative is blowing up in the comments. Fans aren't just seeing rotations anymore, they're seeing power management. They're seeing a system where new stars are being controlled, limited minutes, limited freedom, limited authority. Because once the audience fully experiences that fast, explosive style, you can't rewind it. You can't pretend it's not better. And that's when the noise gets louder. Start her. Stop easing her in. Quit treating your most dangerous weapon like it's some emergency option. And that's exactly why this next moment hit so hard. No PR spin, no polished answer, just raw fan frustration. Someone finally saying what everybody's been thinking, this doesn't add up. If you said you'd rotate, then rotate. If you said you'd optimize, then optimize. Because if you keep winning while your biggest star is sitting to start the game, people aren't gonna think it's strategy anymore. They're gonna think it's something else. Watch this.
Nate Tibbetts did not give us a reason as to why Caitlin Clark did not start this game, which is quite odd to me. A lot of people was very happy seeing Nate Tibbetts as the coach. He did a fantastic job running a fluid offense. I thought it was great, but overall, we need answers as to why we're not seeing Caitlin Clark implemented into this starting lineup. I don't want to hear nothing about Chelsea Gray being the starter. They said that they was going to rotate the starters, and we have yet to see Caitlin Clark be rotated in. There's only 2 more games left, bro. My goodness. Chelsea Gray has started 3 games in a row.
And now you see why that clip hit different, right? Because here's the twist nobody can ignore. This isn't just about basketball anymore, this is business. Women's hoops right now. It's an entire economy. More money on the table, more eyeballs watching, more pressure from sponsors, media, and league decision makers. You've got talks around revenue splits, labor negotiations, the future direction of the game, and while none of that gets decided on a single possession, the perception battle? That's happening every single night. And that's where critics start getting loud. Because they're saying, hold up, why would you limit the exact style and star power that's bringing new fans into the game? Whether people like it or not, a massive chunk of this new audience is showing up for a specific brand of basketball. Deep threes, fast reads, full court lasers, constant motion. Pure chaos in the best way possible. And fair or not, a lot of that energy is tied directly to Caitlin Clark. That's what people came to see. That's what turns a regular game into a must-watch event. So when the team comes out looking slower, more controlled, less explosive early on, it feeds that suspicion. Like, is this being coached? Or managed? And let's keep it real, nobody outside that locker room can prove motives. There's no confirmed agenda, no secret script we can point to. A lot of this is interpretation. But the facts fans are reacting to, those are real. She's not starting. That young, high-tempo unit clearly made an impact. And the explanations we're hearing, they sound like praise, wrapped in caution tape. And then comes the stat line that fans keep throwing back like a receipt: 17 points, 12 assists. A double-double, off the bench, in limited minutes. Let that sink in. Because at that point, the question stops being emotional, it becomes logical. You can argue about fit, you can talk rotations, but production like that? It applies pressure. Heavy pressure. Because if she's changing the game that much in a short window, then the real question is, what happens when that window gets bigger? Yeah, this next part right here? This is where it all comes together.
So overall today, Caitlin Clark did good, man. She played very good in the first half. 17 points, 12 assists, double-double for Caitlin. And why she has not been implemented into the starting lineup, I have no clue, man. We just got to wait and see, dog, I guess. Guys get...
Yeah, that one right there. That's the moment everything turns into a straight-up credibility test. Not just about who's better, but who's being real. Because if you keep saying you're chasing the best lineup, but you keep rolling out the slower unit to start, fans are gonna assume you're protecting something. If you hype up the explosive group, then instantly walk it back with "we might have played them too long," people hear that as setting up an excuse. And when a veteran's words, even unintentionally, come off a little condescending toward rising stars like Caitlin Clark, it fuels that narrative even more. And here's what makes this situation so fascinating. It's turning into a free market battle in the minds of fans. Because viewers don't care about seniority like locker rooms do. They're not checking resumes. They want results. They want entertainment. And they'll reward whatever delivers that with attention, clicks, and loyalty. So when it feels like the most electric, most efficient style is being held back, yeah, the backlash gets louder. Not because they hate the vets, but because they hate feeling like they're watching a watered-down version of what this team could really be. Now to keep it fair, there is a real basketball argument here. International play hits different. The physicality, the spacing, the defensive reads, it's a whole new chessboard. Chemistry matters. Rotations matter. Sometimes your most dangerous player isn't the starter. It's the one who comes in and breaks the game wide open at the perfect moment. That's a legit strategy. But here's the issue. If that's the plan, the messaging hasn't sold it. It doesn't sound confident. It sounds like hedging. And in a moment like this, hedging is gasoline on the fire. Because now we're stuck in that uncomfortable gray area where multiple truths can exist at once. Coaches might be experimenting. Veterans do bring stability. Not every joke is disrespect. But at the same time, fans are watching the future unfold in real time, and they don't understand why the door is only being cracked open instead of blown off the hinges. And the longer that gap stays there, the more people start believing there's a reason behind it. So let's bring it back to the big question. Did the coach just accidentally admit a huge mistake? We know what was said. We saw what happened on the court. What we don't know is the intent. But the reason this story is blowing up. To a lot of people, those comments sounded like accidental honesty, like yeah, the lineup worked. But don't get used to it. And in sports politics, that's where the real story lives. So now I'm throwing it to you. Keep it real. When you hear all this, does it sound like normal rotation strategy? Or does it feel like the team is trying to control how fast Caitlin Clark takes over as the center of gravity? And if that young, high-speed lineup keeps flipping games every time it hits the floor, how long can you keep her on the bench to start before it stops looking strategic and starts looking like fear? If you're rocking with this kind of breakdown, hit that subscribe button, because on WNBA Vibe, we don't just watch the game, we decode it.